Hey guys, it's me, Steve WB, and welcome to my live. And today we are going to be doing a comparison between DSLR cameras and action cameras. And I'm bringing on a guest. His name is Scott. He has a channel called Scott's Reviews. He does a ton of full frame stuff. He has the Sony a7 IV, the a7C. He really likes the Action 2, and he also uses GoPro. So he's quite the expert on these cameras, and I'm not going to like hype him too much and put pressure on him like he's a true like all-knowing professional, but he's quite familiar and more familiar with the bigger cameras than I am. So I'm going to bring him on so we can talk about these two cameras together. But first, we're going to take a quick look. This is his channel. I would encourage you to check him out if you have interest in running the a7C or the Sony a7 IV and just other reviews and camera related videos. He does the same type stuff that most of us do, which is reviews, how-tos, and comparisons. So without any further delay, let's go ahead and bring on Scott. Hello, Scott. Welcome to Steve WB's Live. Go ahead and say hello to everyone.
Sure. Hey guys, welcome back. Welcome to the live stream, Scott's Reviews here. First off, happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone out there. I was told to wear this by my daughter for the live stream. But yeah, my channel is mostly on different style of cameras. I started back a long time ago doing speaker reviews for Bluetooth speakers. That's how I got it all started. I remember my first video I did for 3 different type of speakers. I just used an old Canon T3i, I think it was, and no microphone or anything, and just recorded the sound as I heard it, kind of described it, how I liked it and didn't like it. And that was like one of my first 2 videos, and that went actually the biggest video I ever had. It went to like 600,000 reviews, but I wasn't monetized yet, so didn't get credit for most of that. But it led me on to Bluetooth speakers, to cameras, and all that kind of stuff. So I love cameras. I love different style of cameras, small ones, big ones. So hopefully I can help answer any questions you guys may have out there. So
we see Danny Black, which Mr. Black, Uncle Blackie. It's an honor to have you. Scott, he gave you a compliment. He says, "What's up, Scott?"
How you doing,
Scott
Danny?
does some good reviews.
Thank you, Danny. You do. I love all the stuff that Danny does with all the After Effects and different effects he's had on his channel. So very, very talented at that point.
We'll say
lessons on that.
We'll say Motion Array. Hashtag
Motion
not
Array.
sponsored.
Sorry.
But all right. So what the whole point of this today is, we're going to be talking about DSLRs compared to action cameras for YouTube. And can you use one or the other as just an all-around camera? Or ultimately, at the end of the day, is it best just to go ahead and have both? Danny's like, ha ha, yes, it's Motion Array. Yes, Danny, we watch all your stuff. We know it through and through, sir. But anyway, so I guess the first thing we're going to talk about is I've tried, of course, my first camera was a Lumix G7. I became a micro 4/3 loser, as you call it. If you ever watch Camera Conspiracies and Casey,
I do.
Back in the day, he had a G85, and I was just like getting into cameras, and he's like, "Man, this is the best thing ever. It's got awesome stabilization." And I was like, "Oop, hook, line, and sinker." And I went and got a G7 just to find out that it, just had terrible autofocus and no. Of course, I get the one with no stabilization. And I'm like, oh, man. And so, of course, you start buying the 4/3 lenses. And after having that for a while, I was like, okay, well, I need to upgrade, but I don't want to replace all my glass. So I went with the G9, which the Lumix G9 shoots 10-bit 422. You can shoot 6K. It has awesome stabilization, but it still has autofocus. And if you watch some of my videos, it's like a crapshoot. It's either razor sharp focus, or I'm blurry and the background's clear, or, I never get the bokeh right. I have the reverse bokeh. I am the reverse bokeh king, I guess you could say. But so Scott, you do a lot of running, and you use the Action 2 and other action cameras for that. But you also use like the A7C and the A7 IV. And did you ever have like an A7S III as well?
Yeah, my first camera was basically the Sony 6000. And then I went to the 6300, 6500. And then from there, I would jump to the A7 III when that came out. It's the full frame. So I was happy. What I did back then was I bought more full frame lenses than I did the APS-C lenses. So that was an easy transition to the full frame world. So if you're in that kind of area, look, maybe you're the EZ-V10, that kind of stuff, and you're thinking you may go full frame one day. Again, everyone says just go ahead and buy the full frames. That way you always have it, and you can grow into that. But yeah, A7 III was the first full frame. And then I went to A7R4, and then the A7 IV, which I have right now. First time live streaming with this one. I heard it's a pretty new feature on Sony, not to have an extra adapter and everything else to live stream. So this is my experiment now. The only thing bad about it is that you can't recharge the camera, as I know, while you live stream. So hopefully this lasts long enough to get through this.
Yeah, but, 1 point for Panasonic. It charges. I could live stream all day. I'm on the G9 right now. But so let's go ahead and we'll start talking about action cameras versus DSLRs. And, you know, I brought you on as the resident expert. You are the professional in this. And I told everybody, I was like, I'm not going to overhype him. I was like, you know, he's not the know-all and the be-all, but he does have experience with both of these cameras. And if you were just starting out on YouTube, would you just save your pennies and pony up and get you a DSLR, or would you try the action camera route? And, you know, that's kind of a loaded question because it depends on where you're filming. Like, are you filming outside? Are you filming in studio? Are you going to be inside, outside? Just kind of give us some of your quick thoughts as if you were just starting out. And a lot of, you know, we do a lot of limited budget stuff on my channel because try to save people money.
Yep.
What would you do?
Well, budgets are the biggest thing, right? So budget is going to be where you start off. A lot of folks just use their phones. So iPhone, if you have an iPhone, that kind of thing, you can start using that. The phones are funny because the iPhone for a long time has slowly gotten better, right? So we're to a point now where I think the point, like the R6, the Sony 100 Mark IV or 5, that series, the 100 series is kind of like out of the picture a little bit when it comes to point and shoot kind of cameras. Now that we can use our phones for that, and you can kind of use your phones for a lot of this stuff if you want to first start off, like vlogging or filming, that kind of thing. So I think the younger generation than us knows that already, that the phone is kind of the way to go. And they're getting more and more into the computational stuff where they're having like the cinematic mode. We can blur out the background. Now, it's not the best thing in the world, but it's a start that you can kind of play with it. But if you get into the camera world, I think you're always going to want to have an action camera, no matter kind of what you get involved in. So if you go into like the Action 2 or a GoPro of some sort, you're not going to go wrong with that at all because you're going to use it for many other things. Because you see a lot of the big YouTubers out there may have a big camera that they use most of the time, but they're going to have like an action camera on the side they use for things where they don't get wet. They're running around, that kind of thing. I watch different channels that do a lot of like travel stuff. So they have that one big camera they use all the time to get the narrative going on. And then you'll see them do their stuff they're doing using the action camera, the GoPros, that kind of thing. So if you're starting out, if you want to get into, a lot of folks have been liking the EZ-V10, which is a newer camera from Sony. But right now you can't even buy one right now. I think you can find one. They're kind of hard to find because Sony just kind of stopped with the chip shortage with that camera. But if you can jump back to even to the 6000 series, you can find a cheap 6000 right now on eBay. That is not a bad camera at all. I mean, if you have it stationary and with a good lens, you're going to have an awesome picture. So that is a good starting point, 6000 series, anywhere in that realm before you jump to full frame to save some money, but see if it's something you want to do. But so I would go maybe your phone, get an action camera, and then jump to something in the 4/3 APS-C realm before you jump all the way in.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Because I have the Note 20 Ultra, which I got this phone, I guess when it first came out a couple of years ago, it was quite expensive, but it had the 108 megabyte camera on the back, and it was supposed to, the 100 times zoom, and supposed to be the camera of all cameras. Because I was like, it would be so convenient and nice to be able to just start vlogging with my phone. But then I quickly realized I wasted my money on that phone for the camera, because you're so busy using your phone for other things, especially if you're on vacation. Like, where am I going? Where, GPS, and you know what I mean? And plus then trying to get the files off your phone. So I definitely recommend going the action camera route first if you're doing indoor, outdoor stuff. Now, if you're just sitting in a studio and it's just going to be talking headshots, then you can go with something like a small DSLR, or even a point and shoot like the ZV-1 or the ZV-E10, and because you're just going to be doing talking head. But if you're going to be going places and moving around, I would definitely suggest this, with like an action camera, because, they're getting so much better with the computational photography and video, and they're getting way better in low light, especially if you know how to use them and pull them and use the manual settings and control your ISO so it doesn't blow it out so bad that it just looks like a snowstorm. And
Right.
I mean, and with me saying that, there are some pros and cons to using an action camera. We've kind of touched on some of the pros. What do you think the biggest cons to using an action camera as compared to a DSLR?
Well, number one is going to be low light. So if you get anywhere in your house that's not well lit because you haven't really bought lights yet, kind of thing, then it's going to look pretty grainy. So keep to the outside when it comes to using action cameras in that kind of setting, unless you get lighting or stuff like that. That would help you out. But if you're getting lighting, then you're going to get a bigger camera of some sort. Like the ZV-1 is a great camera. I had that one for a while. That is a great starter camera. I mean, the picture on that is it's incredible. And then it's got pretty good stabilization. It's not the best thing in the world. It's nothing like the Action 2s or the GoPros they have today for stabilization. And actually, there's one that I have that I was about to sell. It's called the DJI Pocket 2. That, if you can get that off the, and you have stabilized footage, it is decent low light. It comes, if you can buy the Creators Combo, it comes with a wireless microphone already, so you already have the sound aspect of things. You can try to find that one on eBay, that kind of thing, a Pocket 2 or even the Pocket 1. But Pocket 1, you're going to have to add on your own audio. But Pocket 2 has the built-in audio. And they're about to come out maybe with a Pocket 3. So if you're in that market, hold off for a bit just to make sure, or get a cheaper Pocket 2 later when it comes out with a 3. But that's another good camera if you're just starting out, or even if you have a whole setup, because it opens up a different world. You can track yourself, so you can set up on a tripod outside if you're doing like a demonstration or something. Have the microphone on, it can track you as you walk back and forth. You don't have to need a cameraman, kind of thing. So it's an interesting camera to check out, Pocket 2.
I started with the OG DJI Osmo Pocket. I bought that day one when it came out. Is this who you were telling me about? I see we have Jason Herman from Sony Alpha Lab.
Yes.
In the house. Scott was talking you up in the pre-show, I guess, when we were trying to discuss where we were going to go with this.
Yeah, he was kind enough to send me a cage for my A7R4 that I won off his channel. So I really appreciate that. It's actually on right now.
Well, you sent him the cage. Send me the A7 IV, right? No.
Right.
Just kidding.
He just picked up a GH6, so he's going to be playing with that one.
Oh, and Danny's opening this topic already. There's some rumors about a GoPro Pocket type of camera. And
yes,
we all have to wonder, is that going to be the GoPro Pro, right? And with the luck I've been having and some of my closer friends, like Fishy Comics and My Gig User, I don't know if you watch any of these guys, but if they have had some issues, and I've had some issues with the GoPro 10, especially when the updates first came out. I was having a ton of issues. Like, it became unusable, and I had to just like wipe everything, go to factory reset, and it's been working fine. So I can't say recently I haven't had any issues with it, but it seems like you have more issues with the Media Mod than not, but that's kind of off topic. The GoPro Pro, some people are thinking the GoPro Pro is going to be like a DSLR maybe type. Uh, I don't. I really don't know where they're going to go. Like Danny's saying, it might just be a like a pocket camera. Like the how crazy would that be if you had a GoPro? It looked like the
I
freaking
saw the
Osmo Pocket.
some of those that actually came out on the 10th, I think it was. There's some leaks that came out, drawings of, and it looked like the Pocket 2 drawing going to some type of modular system. I'm no expert, but my guess what that is that it's some sort of like going back to the Karma grip. Maybe it goes into a drone, so you can take it out of the drone, and it's a self camera like a Pocket 2 you can use and put it back in the drone. I'm not sure if they're gonna go like strictly and copy the Pocket 2. I mean, I think definitely they would come out with like a session, a smaller like GoPro, like the session they used to have, and make that almost like the Action 2, where it's a magnetic backing of some sort. You can kind of mount it anywhere. I think that's a huge market that DJI kind of opened up with this magnetic thing. It makes it so easy to mount and go to different objects. But it's gonna be interesting what GoPro does. I mean, GoPro, I could go on a long time if I got GoPro of having the 6, the 7, the 8, the 9. I tried out the 10 for a while. We all have our issues with GoPro, and it's kind of like I always said, it's kind of like your hot girlfriend that you keep coming back to, even though she's not always great to you. So I love GoPro. I always will have about GoPro. I have the 9 somewhere around here that I use, but it's interesting what they're going to do, because they kind of went off the rails for a while. The Karma kind of went out of the way when they got in trouble with that. And he was trying to sell the company for a while, and then they kind of just focused on their camera, their GoPro camera only. And I think it got him back on track. So hopefully their customer service picks up, and then they come out with the Pro thing is interesting. I have no idea what they'll come out with. That maybe a 1-inch sensor style of GoPro. That would be nice.
That would be really nice. Okay, so just kind of get back like on subject for YouTube. I'm going to kind of go over like, what I do, because I do on my family channel. It's called Bennett's World. We do a ton of Disney stuff. We're all over all the Disney parks. We do a lot of SeaWorld vlogs and things like that. And, my setup when I go is I usually, because through, talking with Danny, I learned about the Grav Grip, and I actually got Grav Grip to send me a Grav Grip. And I'm going to be giving one of these away when I release my video too, because they send you two, one for you and one for a friend. But my normal setup is I bring an action camera. I have the GoPro 10 right now. I had the Action 2, but I sent it back because it was too late to send back the GoPro. So I couldn't justify having both. Basically, they do the same stuff. But when I go, I have the GoPro, and I do all my day shooting that. I do my parades. If we're doing our, walking through the park, hyperlapses, I'm filming with the GoPro, because you just grab it, quick capture, you can get your footage, and it's really easy. The stabilization, you don't have to worry about focus. But if we go indoors, like we're going into a restaurant, if we're doing a character meeting, once the sun goes down, then I get out my G9, because I have it's a Laowa 7.5 millimeter, and it's a f2, I think it is. It's like a f1.8 or an f2. And I just open that aperture all the way up, and you would be blown away at how good the low light can be on a micro four thirds camera with an aperture that big, especially if you know how to pull the ISO back, because all the cameras have their quirks, you know what I mean? Some like a little overexposure, some like a little underexposure, and you learn what you can save in post. But that's what I normally do, because I use the GoPro for high, normal day run and gun. But when it gets dark or low light situations, I rip out the Lumix. And then, of course, when I'm sitting at home, I use my Lumix, because I do a lot of product reviews and stuff. And I've used a GoPro and a bright, well lit area as an overhead camera, and the Lumix will be clear as a bell, and the GoPro will look good, but there's still a lot of noise in the corners and stuff. You know what I mean? So it's really not good for inside at all. But we know when you're running, you're going to bring the Action 2, because it's just a nice little clip. But say if you're going out vlogging, or like we've seen you in the Carolinas on the beach and stuff, what's your camera bag haul? You know what I mean? What's your first camera? Because that's going to influence people who are looking to get on YouTube. Like, well, what's my first going to be? You know what I mean?
So I use how I got to most of my stuff. I like to go out and do vacation videos. So I used to be like a fan of Casey Neistat and watch his videos. So I would try to do my own kind of stuff for my own vacation. So I'd film that, and that was the use of GoPros, small action cameras, and then a mid-sized camera. But when you get on vacation, especially when you're in personal vacations, the bigger cameras kind of like they're getting away. They're big. You have to carry a whole bag with them. You have to have extra lenses, and so it's kind of like how much, especially on a personal video, how much really clear and bokeh background are you looking to pull? I mean, you want to have it with you to get certain shots, but it's not always going to be used. But I think when you get into the YouTube world and you're trying to develop a channel, do product reviews or doing vlogs, you kind of want to have that base. You see a lot of different channels, they'll have that main bigger camera that they use to do most of the narrative, and they'll kind of put it down, they'll walk up to it, that kind of thing, and they'll talk about what they're doing. And again, they'll do most of the stuff with their bigger camera, then switch over to the GoPros and stuff like that to get different style of shots, more action shots, running shots, that kind of thing. So there is a definite benefit for both when you have a channel. So I think even a ZV-1, if you have that, an action camera is a great start. A 6,000 starting out with a smaller GoPro. The GoPro 7 is kind of like an underlooked GoPro. It's always, to me, it's surprising me today with the colors that it can produce. A GoPro 7, and the stabilization is good. It's not as great as the 1s and 9s and 10s, but it's still very good unless you're going to be spinning around and everything else. But
I asked in the chat Jason what he thought, and he says a mirrorless DSLR style camera for sure, and then a GoPro is still required for action and B-roll, which is exactly what you just said. Mm-hmm. So apparently you two are in cohorts with each other, you know. No, but and
I watched his channel for a while. He does great tutorials and really focusing on different style of lenses and cameras. But anyway, but he did mention something down below here I want to touch on.
Yeah, I know. I saw it, but we'll get there in just 1 second. I already know what it is. And then Danny, when we're talking about the GoPro, of course, he's like, he gets a lot of people needing help. It's mostly user error, and they get a setting wrong, etc. And that's completely right. You know, I agree with Danny on that. Just like Fishy Comics, he's like, hey, I agree, Danny Black. One of the biggest things that people overlook on your GoPro camera is the SD card. They think they can just stick any SD card on there and not have any issues. You really need like a SanDisk Pro or a SanDisk Extreme. Those work really well for GoPros, and you would be amazed at the problems that you'll fix with the right SD card. And we got one more comment. Let's see here. I want to touch on this. It says, the issue with GoPro for me is the distortion more than anything. It's awesome for all that other stuff, you know, like Scott was saying. And I completely agree with that, because I've shot a lot of stuff in super view on the GoPro, and you can always say, oh, I can just correct it in post, and you do the fisheye correction. But it seems like it's, you know, you correct the angles, but if a pillar is supposed to be this wide, when you correct it, it's like, you know what I mean? On the edges, everything just gets stretched out. It's straight, but it's just like all stretched out and messed up. But let's go ahead, Scott. We're going to do this.
Very good.
We kind of touched on this before, and he goes, GoPro 1-inch sensor like Sony RXO. Scott, take the floor.
So, Jay, I hope you have one of these, Jay. But I bought one of these a while back, and I did a review on it. And then I got rid of it, returned it because of all the focusing issues, right? So if you're not familiar with the RX0, it's a small, very small GoPro style looking camera from Sony. They came out with it for a while. They had the 0, they had the 2, and they kind of stopped. They had production issues. I don't think they're going to pretty much make it again. Doesn't feel that way anymore. But it's a 1-inch sensor style of camera, and no one really knew what the heck it was for. Can you curse on here? But
go for it.
So it is not an action camera, and everybody kind of figured that out. Everybody thought it was, but it's not, because it has horrible stabilization. And then it has a focusing problem. It has single point autofocus at the best. So near, far, pretty much choose your focus, and that's it. But so I got rid of it, and that camera has been like one of these cameras that I don't know if you are out there that just always you miss it, and for some reason you want to buy it again, but you don't know why. How are you going to use it? I bought one yesterday off eBay, number 2, the second version of it. And for me, I'm around water a lot in different things that I do, but the photography aspects of things I like. So instead of having a GoPro picture in the water or an Action 2 picture in the water, it gives you a certain look. This is more of a RX 100 picture around water. That's why I really kind of was interested. The part when it comes to video is just going to be hit and miss. It needs to be a great studio camera, a B camera on the side. If you're filming product stuff, you can do one focus and it'll be a great, good looking picture with good lighting. You can use Catalyst to try to help out with your stabilization. I know, but Catalyst has some issues too with making your footage look a little more grainy if you use too much of Catalyst. But anyway, that's my digress on the RX 0 series. It's a great camera, a different style of camera. It's not for everyone. Very expensive little camera for what it is. Everyone wanted the new version to come out with continuous autofocus, but I don't think Sony's going to revisit that. But
yeah, probably not. And then we have Fishy Comics, and he's saying my budget was Sony HX9V, which the GoPro 4 and a Canon Elphi or Elphi. I always upgraded same order when on vacation. And all I can say, Fish, is you're going to have to even tell me what 2 of the 3 of those cameras were, because you had me on a live stream on your channel. You're going to, if you want to, I'm going to have you on my channel for the next one. And we'll talk about those cameras for sure, because, Fish, he's an older guy like us, and, he's got a lot of camera history, and it'd be fun to kind of go down memory lane and do like a live on just old cameras and stuff. So we're going to have to visit that for sure. And now we have Red Dragon in the house. We saw his comment in the pre-show. He's very interested and really loves the Sony cameras. And then Jason chimed in and said he never used the RXO. So maybe that means you shouldn't use it either, Scott. I don't know.
I'm sure I'm going to get it for about a month and be like, why did I do this? But there's always eBay, resell it.
And then Red Dragon goes, my second favorite is a Panasonic Lumix S5. With that statement, you're saying my second favorite is lack of autofocus, because, I've learned to manual focus over the years with my Panasonic cameras, and it's a very good skill to have. But when things really start moving, and because, I also have a fighting robot channel that I do with my son, and we'll take my camera to these events. And when things start happening and I grab the Lumix, the focus is hit or miss. You don't always think to, find this focus peaking and make sure you're focused before, when stuff's happening. So autofocus would definitely be nice.
Red Dragon had a comment when he first started about the A7C. I don't know if he was asking or the A7 IV.
Let me go back.
And he said, and. Oh, great. Yeah, and it'd be nice if you had both of them. I had the C for a while. I love the A7C. The only reason why I got rid of it because I wanted the viewfinder on top for photography. But the C produces an incredible 4K video. So it's a small, great camera.
Almost like I was thinking about that one myself, but it's like I'm so locked in with this Panasonic stuff, and I literally went on the other day and I was like, because you can trade it to these camera shops and they'll buy them from you or whatever. And what they offer is, I'm just going to be a Lumix guy for a while longer. But anyway, Danny Black says, I just got my Hero 5 replacement show up, and it's a Hero 9 and 2 extra batteries. And I'm going to give you guys a quick behind story on what happened with Danny. He had a video come out about the GoPro replacement plan. Basically, you should have that subscription because it covers up to 2 camera replacements, and they don't. Basically, it's not just for the camera you just bought. It's not just the 10. If you have a 10 and a 7, and the 7 breaks, you can replace the 7 twice, or the 10 twice, or the 7 and the 10 if they get broke. And what he did is he had a Hero 5 that he had broken on a vacation or a trip that he was using for a paperweight. And hopefully I'm not butchering this story too bad, Danny. But so he got the replacement plan for the GoPro Hero 10. Well, he contacted GoPro, went through the chat, and they said they would take his 5. He sent them a 5, and apparently they gave him a 9 in return because they no longer make the 5, and they gave him 2 extra batteries. I think the 2 extra batteries is because he's Mr. Black, though. That wouldn't be for everybody. Mm-hmm. He's about to be a GoPro ambassador. I feel it. Let's see what Jason has for us. That is a shame about the autofocus on the RXO. But like you said, that 1-inch sensor and Zeiss lens is awesome. You can still get some killer shots and footage with that tiny hardened camera. And, you know, I had the same attraction to that camera like Scott did. You know, when I was doing my research, I was like, man, that is like a little bad to the bone camera. Like I would really, you know, it just seems like it gives you more dynamic range. It has the 1-inch sensor, and it just seemed more versatile. And you'd watch some of these, like if you watch some of these Hollywood like game shows and stuff, they use the RXO mounted in different places. If you look for them, you'll see them. And but then I looked up the price, and it was like $700 or $650 or something. And I was like, I'll just get my GoPro Hero 5 because that's back whenever I was doing all that shopping. But
it's definitely a different style. They call it a niche camera. It's a definitely you know why you're buying it. So if you like mount it inside your car, you do vlog cars or videos in your car, you can mount it that way. Have a little bit of lighting, fixed focus, and it works great for that. But if you're action with the kids, no.
That's good to know because now I don't feel the need at all to buy that camera. Danny says, I'm not butchering the stories, and he's making a video about it for tomorrow. So if you don't know who Danny Black is and you have a GoPro, you need to figure it out. That's all I'm going to say. Go look up Danny Black. I think he's probably the only one on YouTube. And I'll try to link him in the description of this, so if you watch it after the fact. But really, really good channel, really well-made videos. He's very entertaining as well. And he can sing, and he's traveled the world. Let's see. We have Red Dragon. He said the A7 IV is much better than the 7C.
True. That's true.
No argument there.
No argument there. The 4, but the C is still a great camera, and I do like for the size you get out of it. I do miss it. So, right. But I mean, I'm not going to go into the size debate of that thing because you still put lenses on it and everything else too. So,
oh look, Fishy Comics just dropped Danny's channel link in the description. Thank you, Fish. You're a good man. And Danny, let me see. He says, I may or may not, Mr. Elusive here, be getting something soon that I can't talk about. And all I can say is, Danny, I swear to God, if you have the GoPro Pro or something this early, I might come to Australia because, and I think Scott will go with me.
Yeah,
because we're dying to know what that one is. But okay, we wandered a little bit, but no, that's part of the live stream. That's just the way it goes. That's the fun part of it. So I want, if you're still watching and you're still here and you haven't gotten bored to tears yet, just drop a comment below. If you were just starting out, what would you recommend that a brand new YouTuber use in this day and era? You know, that was much better, like a whole different question just 3 or 4 years ago as to what you would use, because to me, a first camera was just not even in, like an action camera was not even in the conversation for your first camera because, you know, they were still pretty shaky. The low light was just terrible, and you wouldn't be doing talking head stuff with it as to what you can do now. And I have videos on my channel where I use the old Osmo Pocket in studio, and you wouldn't know it was the Osmo Pocket unless I told you, because, you know, it's just what you can do with lights. So tell us, Danny. let's catch up with Danny. We had Fish going ahead and dropped in Danny's link, so go subscribe to Danny.
Also go subscribe to Sony Alpha Labs too. Shout out.
Oh, of course. I'm sorry, Sony Alpha Labs. I'm not neglecting you. And Danny's like, well, borders are open, so come on to Australia.
So
And
I want to hit on one thing you said about the camera. So yeah, absolutely, lighting can change the world. I'm very new to lighting, as you could tell. I'm new to this part of it. I that was the one thing I waited a long time to do was lighting. First was camera, then it was sound, and then all right, let's get into lighting. But lighting could have fixed a lot of my issues from the past of having smaller action cameras with bad sensors, that kind of thing. You're outside in sunny light, it looks great. You go inside, it doesn't. Add some light and maybe it'll look a bit better. So that's one that you can help out as a younger YouTuber. Also, like everyone says, you could have your phone, but if you make great content and you're interesting of what you're producing, people are not going to care too much about what you're filming with. And that's pretty much true, is that the content you put out, what you put out on your channel, interesting, creative, that kind of thing, then that's what draws people in. Having a great, beautiful, crisp image is one thing, but it all depends on what you're producing.
true, I agree. And I've, my site, like when I watched YouTube or when I was first starting to make videos, all I did was learn about video and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like how to do this, how to do that, to the point that I got so burnt out on seeing how everybody else does it that I wanted to hit my head on the wall. And it's like, okay, well, we're just going to do it this way. But yeah, lighting is quite important. It's an educational process. And the whole point of where I was going is it just depends on what your intentions are. Okay. If you really, really enjoy making videos and sharing stories and if you can make 200 videos and have 3 views on every video and you can't wait to make the next 200 videos, then go ahead and get you a DSLR, because you're bit by the bug and you're going to want to advance your education of cameras to where you can use that camera to its fullest. Now, if you're not a real like camera or tech savvy person and you really don't even care about aperture and ISO and all this stuff, get you a Hero 10, get you an Action 2, you know what I mean? And just learn how to use that camera and learn its pros and its cons. And, maybe you'll want to learn more later, but that would be, what I would suggest. If you're a real technical person and you want to learn all the ins and outs, then get a DSLR. If you're not very technical and you like auto mode and you don't want to have to worry about stabilization and all that stuff, action camera. Let's see what Danny's throwing at us. My recommendation for new YouTubers: GoPro Hero 10 plus the Wind Slayer and an iPhone 13 Pro. What do you think, Scott?
What's the Wind Slayer? I'm new to that.
That's the foam, kind of like a foam condom that goes around the whole entire GoPro, and it covers all the microphones on all sides, and it does a really, really good job of killing all the wind noise and stuff like that. So
yeah, I mean, GoPro Hero 10 to do all your action stuff, get wet, run around, great stabilized footage. And then, yeah, the 13 Pro, great phone. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. And it's all right there in your phone. You could do the video, it downloads right there. You don't have to have a SD card or anything. So what I'm waiting for the day is when they put this technology into the big mirrorless cameras. And then when that happens, look out. That's going to be great.
That whole computational thing, the first people that are going to do that is going to be Panasonic. Mark my words. Panasonic's going to take the 4/3 sensor and do the whole computational photography thing. If not them, Olympus, of course, but who's left after that? Nobody cares about anybody else anyway.
I always yelled at Sony forever for their menu system. I'm like, you guys have phones, you have Androids, you can't make a better menu system. But they're
right.
They're same company, but 2 different companies. So sorry.
Right. Red Dragon came up and he says, I am so happy with my action camera, the DJI Osmo Action. And Red Dragon, I still think that is, if not tied for, still one of the best absolute action cameras that has been made to date. Because if you know how to use that camera, and even if you don't know how to use that camera, you're going to get some really good results out of that little Osmo Action. That's what I think.
Everyone, this is the most hated camera right now. The Action 2. That's why it's on sale right now, because they can't seem to move them. But it's a fun camera. I'm not going to go on that one, but If you have questions about it, let me know.
Did you notice that whenever the Action 2 came out, the DJI Osmo Action went from like $199 to like $399?
No.
They jacked the price up on the old one to try to sell the new one right out the gate.
Right. That Action, I mean, the first one was on sale from their website for like $200 for a long time until that one came out.
Not anymore. Let's see what Jason with Sony Alpha Labs. And I want to give Jason a proper welcome and thank you so much for hanging out with us novices. He says, any camera will work for YouTube these days, but your budget is a huge factor and skill required, which comes with a learning curve. And I couldn't agree with that statement more, because if you pick up any camera, and I went through this little thing myself when I was trying to upgrade cameras, is you get a camera, you pull it out the box, you run outside and you hit record, and you come inside and you put it in your computer and you're like, oh my God, that looks like crap. You know, you can have a far, right? You can have a far inferior camera and learn the strengths and weaknesses of that camera and make it look as good as any other camera that you have no experience with, or if not better. You know, I mean, that's just, it took me a long time to figure that one out, that the camera is not going to make my stuff look better. I actually have to learn what light is and aperture and ISO and all that stuff.
Right. And you have the whole world of YouTube to have your own tutorials to figure that out. So it's an easy time to learn.
Yep. And they tend to cause a lot of confusion as well.
Yeah, that's true. Everyone got their own opinions.
Okay, I was getting something wonky going on here. And then Fish, he comes in and goes, agree more and more on the Osmo Action Red Dragon. He's a fan of the Osmo Action as well. Let's see, Danny. The HDR thing is kind of annoying with Final Cut Pro. Not a hard fix, but it's kind of annoying. Is that, Danny, are you talking about the HDR thing with the, like using the Osmo Action? Or is it just some, I don't have Final Cut Pro, so I don't use that. Scott, do you use Final Cut?
I do. You mean the HDR tools? You slide over. I'm not sure exactly what. I don't use too much HDR stuff.
We'll see. He'll let us know.
The different log profiles. Serious things have been said.
See, a lot of people are trying to steer you away from the Sony ZV-E10. They say just get the ZV-1. I like the idea of being able to change lenses myself. So I like this statement right here. If I had to choose between the ZV-1 and the ZV-E10, I would get the E10.
The only con with the E10 that I don't have one of those. Just from seeing some reviews is the fisheye. I mean, sorry, not the fisheye. The what do you call that?
Oh, rolling shutter.
Rolling shutter. Thank you. The rolling shutter is pretty bad on that one, especially in the 4K mode. So keep still. Don't move around too much with that one.
Oh, that's good to know. Insta360 is about to drop something big, though. Update to their module lineup.
The 22nd. They're coming out with, well, from the things I've seen, it looks like the R series. I don't have the Insta360R. The one you can modular, you can change up. So probably something with my guess, I don't have one, but if you have one of those, the 1-inch sensor adapter modular was not as good as people wanted it to be. So maybe it's like a better one of those, or who knows? I don't know. I'm not
Danny knows. He's just not telling us.
He's looking at one right now, probably.
And what I have to think, I know. Well, see, that makes me come back to his previous statement. I may or may not be getting something soon that I can't talk about. Okay, we won't go any further on that. Danny goes, the Action 2 is tough. I actually like it in some circumstances, but no one clicks on Action 2 vids anymore. The Action 2 is like very charismatic to me. He's like that drunk that's charismatic. You know, you want to hang out with him and have fun with it. And you know you shouldn't or whatever, so you get away from it. But then when you're away from it, you're like, it'd be fun to go hang out with that drunk again. I don't know. That's probably a horrible analogy, but you know what I mean. It's kind of like you with the RXO. Yeah, I think about the Action 2 like, it'd be really cool in this situation if I still had it.
Right. It's a camera. It's mainly good for easy mounting. So either back onto a tripod, mounting it with a sticky pad to your windshield, to anything like that. So it's quick, that kind of thing. I think the picture is pretty decent. It's really contrasty. And then what I like about it is you have there's a necklace mount. You can kind of mount it to your chest, that POV style. So you could be on vacation, like walking through Disney at the park, and you could film something like as you whatever, turn it off, put it right here. You don't have to worry about it again, or you can start filming as you're walking with it on. So it's just a different way to an ease of use kind of thing, camera, especially on vacation. You still need to remember that this is not waterproof, and this is.
I did the exact thing. SeaWorld just came out with a new roller coaster called Icebreaker. And I waited in line, which it wasn't a very long line. We had a pass holder preview. And then I waited to get in the front. And I had the Action 2 on, and I clipped it on the front here. But then I didn't fix the horizon stable in the right mode. So it's like I go up and I made a 45-degree turn on the coaster, and it flipped the whole image and just ruined the entire video. It's like I needed to have that locked, you know what I mean? So it wouldn't adjust. And I didn't. That was just a rookie mistake.
Well, now they have the horizon bouncing. So right out of camera, you can do this, and it keeps it all level. Kind of like the GoPro with the little modular lens that it does.
And if you are an Action 2 fan, you should go check out Danny's channel as well, because I think it was Ulanzi just gave him a whole bucket load of accessories for that thing. And the accessories were so nice, it makes you want to get the Action 2. I mean, I was like, man, that looks so cool. You know, like I really liked it.
I hit up Ulanzi. They told me, whatever, dude.
I always get buy some of our products and make some videos like Freewell tells you, and then we'll get back to you. Yeah, Freewell. Anyway, Red Dragon thinks mirrorless is the future, which I think we'll all probably agree with that, unless you're scuba diving. And Danny says HDR on the iPhone 13 Pro video. Remember when he made the comment about HDR? The HDR thing is kind of annoying with Final Cut Pro. So I guess when he's editing the iPhone 13 Pro HDR in Final Cut, there's some issue there.
Oh,
Danny, you're gonna have to tell us about that one.
I haven't tried that.
I use a DaVinci Resolve, and if you have DaVinci Resolve and you don't have this, which is the speed editor, this is like the biggest time saver. You just sit there and you go into cut mode and you scroll the wheel and you click in and out where you want your clips to, and it drops them into the timeline, and you can scroll through everything so quick. Okay, we have a question. What's a good camera for beginners? Well, Emma H., I have to ask you the traditional question, which would be budget. And it just depends on how involved you want to get. If you want to keep like a low budget, like if you want to keep a really low budget, I'd say like a DJI Osmo Action, or use your phone. If you want to kind of bump it up a little bit, then I would say like the Sony ZV-1. If you're not going to be doing, like a bunch of action sports, it really comes down to use. But if you're doing stuff like this, talking head or product reviews and things, I would start around Sony ZV-1, because that's a really good base to start with. And you can grow with that camera for many years. And you also have to remember Mr. Beast got his first 200,000 subscribers with a bad iPhone. So
the ZV-1 is if you were doing like still stuff, so you're basically talking maybe cosmetic tutorials, whatever you're doing, but it's still, you're back and forth with the camera. The product showcase mode on that camera is incredible. Where basically you hit that button, you show something to the camera, and it locks on really quick, and it's back to you. So that really helps out a lot. So ZV-1 is great if you're doing like those type of videos. Now, if you're walking and talking and going outside and doing all the kind of stuff like that, then like a GoPro would be a good starter camera. You always want a GoPro somewhere in your bag,
right? Because they do come in handy. Dread Dragon says DSLR technology is a bit outdated. DSLR uses a mirror. They have a huge body and a lot of weight. Mirrorless is the future. Yes, mirrorless.
Definitely.
We can agree with that. All I can say is you'll like the specs a lot. I bet we will, Danny, as he's looking at it right now, going, ha ha.
So I shouldn't have bought that RX-0, right?
Oh, well. Rolling shutter is bad for sure. I was talking for studio more specifically. Great point. Yes, definitely. Like, we agree. I didn't know about the rolling shutter issue, but to have interchangeable lenses in a studio, yes.
Like, I got rid of my RX, the ZV-1. Mainly for me, I said in one of my videos, I got rid of it because I was becoming lazy. I was just using that camera instead of busting out the big one. I was like, why'd I pay $2,000 for a huge mirrorless camera when I'm not going to use it and go to the ZV-1 because it's easy? So for me, that's why I kind of pushed it off and said, I need to focus more on the bigger one. But for the ZV-10, for a studio camera, absolutely, yeah. Or even a B camera, if you got something you want to get a side angle shot of something with a good lens, yep, all day long. If they ever make more of them.
Yeah, Danny's making this comment. Steve WB trying to navigate the crowds at Disney. He did a hyperlapse challenge that I entered. He does usually monthly or every other month. He'll do like a GoPro challenge, whether it's hyperlapse, time lapse, night lapse, whatever. And I walked through the entire Magic Kingdom park and did a hyperlapse, like trying to walk slow as I could without getting, beat up by the crowds for holding them up. And you wouldn't believe how many people are at Disney right now. So that's where that's coming from. But
we're headed to a cruise next month. It's been 2.5 years waiting to go on this cruise. It's been canceled, but back on. So I'll do a hyperlapse around the boat.
That's right. It would actually be nice, like if you're doing like the water and you just kind of spin around and catch like the bow as you go around or something,
Yeah.
And then Danny says, dude, those accessories are so nice. And they are. I was like, they really made me jealous, to be honest.
Yep. You don't even use the camera. You should send them to us.
LOL. I'm not looking at anything but this stream. Sure. Mr. Black. Can we call you Uncle Blackie? No. Number 73. Grr, missed the stream. 1 a.m. here. Need some sleep. Have a great time. To all the best. Your European fan base. Sorry you missed it. I believe number 73 is in Germany, and he has some really cool stuff on his channel. But so Scott, just kind of like to put some closure on this.
Yeah.
What are some of your kind of final thoughts? We know that action cameras are great, of course, for action, but they can also work as a studio cam if you have the proper lighting. And we know that their Achilles heel, of course, is always going to be, you're never going to get a blurry background, and you're never going to get great low light performance. So it's really hard to isolate your subject with them. And of course, like was brought up as well, the fisheye effect. Even when you're in linear or narrow, it's not really that bad. But if you really want to get the wide view, it does get distracting to a point. What do you think?
I mean, again, budgets is a huge factor, especially when you're starting out and you're asking either mom and dad or you got your own side job trying to get money to buy something. And you see folks on YouTube, you think, I'm going to make like Casey Neistat $1 million. You got to start off on the ground. And especially like you said before, if you get a camera that's not so hot, it's not, cameras move so fast, right? So you buy one and a month later or a year later, the next one's out. You're like, oh, I need to have that one. So we all fall into the gear envy kind of thing. So start off something small, make sure it's something you like doing and you enjoy doing and you're putting out good content. And then from there, kind of like start building up. So get something like a 6000 series of a Sony or a ZV-1. That way you can kind of walk around with a little bit more if you want to go that route. I would pick up a ZV-1 now, probably find them on eBay, somewhat on sale a little bit if you can find them. But that's a good one to start with. If you're going to, again, more outside stuff, then GoPro. I'd say go GoPro or the Action 2 kind of thing.
All right. And Danny's dropping in us. He says, I'll give you some inside info on the next challenge. It will utilize hindsight. So he's just teasing us more. Scott, I'll see if I can get you Lanzi to send them to you. What a good guy.
Yeah, throw your weight around.
Yep. So we're going to go ahead and start wrapping this up. I have an 8 o'clock deadline tonight. I'm going to turn into a pumpkin. But, it's like with everything, use what you got first. You know, I don't want to sound like Casey Neistat because I'm just mad at him right now. But if you learn how to tell a story, you don't need a camera. You know what I mean? I mean, of course, you got to have something, but how many people do you see film something in black and white and you just can't turn away? You know what I mean? How many people do the vintage thing where it's all yellow and you have the flickers in the screen and it just looks amazing and steals your heart? You know, you have to learn how to touch on that emotion. And I'm still trying to learn this, obviously, because I only have 1,200 subs, but I know where I need to go. I just need to get myself to go there. But learn how to tell a story, learn how to appeal to somebody, learn how to encourage people, learn how to build people up, learn how to educate people if you can't do any of those other things. And then you'll start building your fan base. And then you can start worrying about if you need a better looking camera. And I'm going to tell you the downfall to all this 4K crap. It makes me look as old as I am. That's why I don't mind when my Lumix is out of focus, because I look like 10 years younger. So I might start doing that on purpose. But
yeah. For me, it's you just gotta find your niche and go with it. Find basically whatever you do something you enjoy doing. Whether it's something, like you said, somebody watches or doesn't watch, it doesn't matter. I was interested in speakers and I wanted to hear more about different style of speakers, so I just started doing that, and it kind of caught on. And then I was interested in cameras because I needed cameras to film the speakers, so it all kind of like snowballs. So I am way still learning. I'm learning at lighting. I'm learning at sound. I'm learning at editing. Editing is a whole different world when it comes to that. So it's a slow learning process you have to just start getting into.
yep, just to go through some of the final comments. Jason gave us a compliment. Thank you, Jason. We try to do a great job, and I'm sure that we'll do this again one day. Fish, pleasure to have you, my friend. Metro Master 2010. I'm glad you learned something, because I didn't feel like I taught very much, but I certainly had fun with the conversation. And Danny, sorry I was so chatty. Perfect timing for me before I start my day. Danny, you can be chatty all you want, my friend. You kept things going and you gave us stuff to talk about, so we appreciate you. And then my lovely daughter-in-law, Nikel. Definitely a fun chat. I'm glad you and Christian could come and join me and watch my live. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. We appreciate you guys. We want to thank Scott's Reviews. Make sure you go check out his channel. He's got some really cool, fun stuff on there as well. I'm Steve WB, and I'm out.